for today, but drone attacks highlighted the airport's continued vulnerability. And finally, the head of the World Health Organization says Gaza is experiencing a health catastrophe that will last for generations to come. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus told the BBC that Gaza faces a fatal combination of hunger, disease and a ruined health system that's compounded by restricted access to humanitarian aid. He says aid distribution is below what is needed to rebuild Gaza's healthcare system.
There was a promise for massive scale-up and 600 trucks per day. Now average is between 200 to 300. So that's not really what we expected. And the other problem is the crossings. We need multiple crossings, all available crossings.
Recapping the top story this hour, former South Africa's President Jacob Zuma has been ordered to pay back $1.6 million spent by the state on his personal legal fees related to the 1990s arms deal case. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo Wepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In our headlines, Safa and Adidas are hoping to make lots of money when it comes to the World Cup in the Americas. And South Africa's Sunshine Tour caddies are cashing in on the golf course. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
Connecting Africa to the world. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni brings you the latest insights on Africa's economy.
It is exactly 7 minutes after 4 p.m. A very good afternoon to you, Africa. A lot on our agenda today as we look at the breaking and developing stories in the world of business on the African continent. There's a conversation we tried to have. We actually did have it just for a little while yesterday around wind energy in South Africa and the role it plays as part of the integrated resource plan. We'll continue that conversation this afternoon. We'll also take a look at the latest global and local markets with ABSA Investments. We'll be joined by Lindile Malchas. And also the World Bank has once again rekindled its relationship with Uganda. You'll remember that Uganda had been on a 2-year freeze with the World Bank refusing to lend any money to the country, largely due to its policy or its stance on LGBTQ. This freeze now lifted. We'll look at how much the World Bank will be advancing or loaning to Uganda and which sectors are going to be benefiting from this. And a conversation that you really want to listen to if you are a lotto player. Who knows, maybe you are the one that Ituba is searching for. Somebody out there has won themselves millions of dollars. And how do you deal with that psychologically? What type of counseling goes into one receiving such a windfall, which literally changes your life overnight? That and a whole lot more coming up on Africa in Business. And do remember, we are available on all the various social media platforms.
AUSISA, the Association of Water and Sanitation Institution of South Africa, is a platform uniting Africa's water professionals. This November, Africa leads the conversation on water and sanitation. Join global and African leaders at the AUSISA Africa and Global South Dialogue 2025 from the 9th till the 12th of November at the Emperor's Palace, Johannesburg. From policy innovation, this is where action meets collaboration for a water-secure future. Register today at ausisa-watersun-dialogue.org or follow at AUSISA on social media. AUSISA, working together for sustainable water and sanitation security in Africa. Africa means business. Tune into Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni for the future of the African economy. Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
It is exactly 10 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. We begin here this afternoon. South Africa's Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Deon George, has called on African governments to ensure that revenues from carbon markets directly benefit the local communities, and particularly those communities that are still lacking access to basic energy. Speaking at the 2025 Carbon Market Africa Summit, which is currently underway in Johannesburg, South Africa, the minister also outlined the country's draft carbon market framework and credit revenue plan. Channel Africa's economics reporter Innocent Samosa has more.
Financing nature for the people. That's the message currently being echoed at the 2025 Carbon Market Africa Summit. The summit is held under the theme Unlocking Africa's Carbon Value, Integrity, Investment and Impact. Ian Banner is the chairman, Go Green Africa, South Africa.
The question I heard coming out of one session yesterday was, do we fail due to science or do we fail due to communication? And I think that the communication piece is letting the industry down because you only hear the bad news. And sometimes it's really important to share the good news. There is a lot of good news out there, actually. There are some stunning projects that are being realized. I spoke to Mark in the breakfast room this morning briefly about 5 projects in Tanzania. No problem with buyers.
Meanwhile, South Africa's Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Dion George, says the wealth generated from Africa's ecosystems should benefit the very people who protect them. He emphasized that the global system must be fair.
We also recognize that climate finance must be inclusive. Women, youth and local communities must be part of the value chain, not at its margins. The transformation we seek will not be achieved by government alone. It demands a whole of society approach, where business, civil society, academia and communities work.
He added that Africa must act as one, warning that fragmentation weakens the continent, but unity makes it stronger.
Ladies and gentlemen, Africa must act as one. Fragmentation weakens us. Unity strengthens us. Let us share our knowledge, our standards, and build regional systems that reflect our shared ambition. To my fellow African leaders, I say this: the eyes of investors are on our continent. We can either watch as others set the price of our potential, or we can set that price ourselves. Let us take our rightful place as leaders in the global carbon economy.
The minister noted that South Africa's approach is aligned with the Paris Agreement's crediting mechanism designed to ensure that the country's carbon credits are credible and respected. But how can we achieve governance integrity and fairness, and where do we begin?
Integrity begins with governance. High-quality markets require strong institutions, predictable regulations and open data. We are investing in capacity building, verification systems and transparent reporting tools to ensure that our national system can track and account for every transaction.
The summit continues for the next 2 days. For Channel Africa News, I'm Innocent Samos in Johannesburg.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
Now, South Africa is nearing a critical decision point that could determine its exit from the Financial Action Task Force grey list. Analysts say that the country's potential removal from the FATF grey list hinges on its ability to demonstrate the effectiveness of the implemented measures. The global anti-money laundering watchdog conducted a crucial on-site visit in the month of June, with the final decision expected at its plenary later this week. Nosipo Khatebe has the details.
South Africa could be in for some good news this week. Monday marked the start of the FATF plenary and working group meetings in Paris. The week-long gathering is a pivotal moment for the country as the global watchdog on money laundering and terrorist funding will decide whether South Africa can be removed from the grey list. Business unit lead for governance at More Infinity, Danny Dorfling, expressed confidence that the country could be removed.
This on-site is the gate to delisting, and obviously the decision drops on Friday. That also shows the effectiveness across 11 immediate outcomes. So assessors look at outcomes for risk-based supervision working, money laundering, terrorist financing, cases investigation and prosecution, asset confiscations, sanctions being applied, beneficial ownership data being used in real cases, international cooperation, etc. So the FATF as an effectiveness yardstick in essence.
Dorfling says the grey listing has had real consequences for the country, particularly small businesses.
I think SMEs were hit the hardest because of the beneficial ownership, onerous compliance, the onerous compliance guidelines and requirements from a beneficial ownership point of view. And we've also seen that in portfolio inflows. I mean, when Moody's flagged persistent weak FDI as sort of a 7-year low and sub 2% growth as a core constraint, the fiscal squeeze from weak growth, starving supervisors and prosecutors of capacity is exactly what the FATF wants to see in sustained discussions and in sustained investigations. So I think it would be twofold. I think obviously from a foreign direct investment, we've definitely been squeezed, but also the SME market. I think we see a lot of businesses at More Infinity that we work with that really have a big compliance burden on them because of the enhanced regulations.
He adds that it will take some time before the country sees a noticeable uptick in capital inflows after the delisting.
The IMF evidence shows that grey listing is linked to a large decline in total capital inflows, about 7.6% of GDP on average. And removing this label lifts that headwind and supports investment and M&A appetite over time. I think the amount of time in which that's going to take is going to be a longer run discussion. I would say almost a 5-year discussion. I don't see that happening overnight. And I think our competitiveness via clean data is something that we can leverage in the interim.
There have been some red flags raised that South Africa's delisting could be delayed amid new corruption allegations at the country's latest commission into its policing. Nosipho Khatebe, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
It is exactly 17 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time as we turn our sights now to Uganda. The country is set to receive a major financial boost from the World Bank. This is after nearly 2 years of suspended lending. The global lender had pledged more than $2 billion in new financing, and this will happen over the next 3 financial years in order to support key development projects in Uganda. According to the Finance Ministry Permanent Secretary Ramadhan Gomi, the funds will target sectors such as transportation, energy, the ICT sector, as well as agriculture. Now, this move marks the World Bank's renewed engagement with Uganda. This follows a freeze linked to the country's controversial anti-LGBTQ law. For more on this afternoon, we're joined by Gotbe Tumushabe, Associate Director at the Great Lakes Institute for Strategic Studies, a Kampala-based policy think tank. A very good afternoon to you. Good to have you with us on Africa in Business. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So on the economic rationale, given Uganda's current debt levels and borrowing costs, do you think that taking on over $2 billion in new World Bank financing is indeed a sound move for the long-term economic stability of the country? Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, for sure. Uganda, as a country where we are now, we really need a very, very serious injection of cash to be able to develop the necessary economic infrastructure that is able to build a strong economy.
When we look at where these funds are going to be funneled to, according... Have we lost you? Are you still there, sir?
So yes, I am.
All right. We did lose you there. We did lose you there for... Yes, we can hear you. So we did lose you there for a moment. So if you could just please indulge us and just start with your answer from the top, if you could please, sir.
No, basically I was saying that where the country is right now, we need a very serious injection of cash to be able to invest aggressively in building the economic infrastructure that would act as a foundation for building an economy. Because Uganda basically has no money. We don't have many things to sell. We don't have our major cash inflows come from coffee, or this comes from diaspora remittances. But we need to invest in improving the transport infrastructure, the tourism infrastructure, the ICT infrastructure, and agriculture, infrastructure, and value addition. So the injection of this money is definitely a good timing. The only downside of it is that we have a very big, expensive, and wasteful government. So, in other words, unless the government reorganizes itself, that there is a major restructuring of government to make it small, make it lean, and make it efficient, that money definitely would not deliver the expected outcomes.
And on that very point, Mr. Tumashabe, this is not the first time that these various sectors have been highlighted as centers or sectors in need of financial injection: transport, energy, ICT, and agriculture. These are sectors that have been cited in previous loans. So what's going to be different this time? What is it that gives you confidence that these projects will actually see the light of day, that they will actually be completed, especially because it's not the first time around?
No, incidentally, I must confess that I don't have the confidence. It's a wait and see game. I know that the team in the Ministry of Finance, led by my friend Ramadan Govi, is a very, very dedicated team. These are very highly respected professionals trying to manage the economy. We have a very dedicated team at Bank of Uganda dealing with the macroeconomics. The problem is that the moment this money moves into the sectors, the different sectors, because I work with them at the policy level, I work with many policy makers in the different sectors of government, and you can see that there is a very, very high fatigue within government in terms of efficiently and effectively executing projects. Remember that we are dealing with the government where the president has been around for 40 years now. He's completing 40 years this year. He has been in power. So whenever there are governments where presidents overstay in power, they end up staffing government with very, very inefficient, with unqualified people, actually, including in cabinet. So we don't have a cabinet that can really, where you can say, this cabinet is going to be very judicious and run government efficiently, because the cabinet is big, bloated, and inefficient. So I wouldn't say that I'm confident. I can only say this is a wait and see game to see whether this really would change anything. Remember that we are a country that is highly in debt. We are highly indebted. Our interest rates are basically through the roof. Borrowing from commercial banks in this country now, you're borrowing the highs of about 20 to 30%. So it's a very challenging economic situation we are in. But if the World Bank did not bring in the money, the possibility of default and running broke definitely would be there, because our inflows really in terms of economic activity are not as solid as you would want to expect.
I mean, as you're saying, there are no changes in government, still the same government, still the same infrastructure that the World Bank is funneling their resources into. So really, it sounds like another wasted project. But what is it that needs to happen in order to ensure that there is transparency and to ensure that there isn't going to be any misallocation of funds or corruption in the management of these World Bank funds? Does the World Bank in and of itself have any jurisdiction over how these funds are funneled after disbursement?
No, I don't think that the World Bank has really a big say on how the money is spent. The government has tried. Incidentally, at the policy level, there is a very deliberate efforts to get some things done and done properly at the policy level within certain ministries and agencies. At the broader strategic political level, the narrative and the context is that this is a wastage. This is a government that will spend money, and even if there are no results, the government is happy to proceed and spending, because you see, if you think of the roads infrastructure, this government needs to invest massively in opening up the country in terms of the road network. I think the best example that can be given is the roads that have been opened in the oil region. This is in Western Uganda. So if the same discipline can be used to invest the money that has been borrowed, maybe there is something that can come out of it. But when you look at the economic policies of government, the way they are basically investing in at subsistence level and lacking strategic direction and strategic investments that drive the economy. I think that's where the challenge is. And World Bank money is always money that is not very it's not very helpful in terms of how you transform a country. If the government is not smart, is not efficient, World Bank money will come in and it will be spent, and you look for where it has been spent and you can't find it, because that's the history in this country is very, very littered with those examples.
Right. So, Mr. Tumashaba, we'll leave it at that for now. And, hopefully we'll be able to keep track of the developments in Uganda, whether it will be, the same old, or whether there will actually be difference, and whether there will be investments into those really crucial infrastructure sectors. We thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's Mr. Godber Tumashabe. He's Associate Director at the Great Lakes Institute for Strategic Studies, a Kampala-based policy think tank. It is exactly 27 minutes after 4 p.m. In just a moment, we continue a conversation that we started yesterday all around wind energy in South Africa.
African enterprise meets global opportunity. Africa in business on Channel Africa.
So, South Africa's wind energy sector is considered crucial for addressing the country's energy needs in reducing load shedding and also meeting its carbon reduction targets. This as the Minister of Electricity and Energy, Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, implements an integrated resource plan to build 105,000 megawatts of new generation capacity between now and the year 2039 to the value of 2.23 trillion rand. That's around 127 billion US dollars. Now, the plan will pave South Africa's road towards net zero emissions by the year 2050. For more on this, we joined once again today by Vincentia Letish, Executive for Energy and Infrastructure at Standard Bank. Well, thank you, ma'am, for joining us once again today. Yesterday, towards the end of our conversation, we had a really compromised line, so couldn't continue. Welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
So one thing that I wanted to find out from you yesterday, and this is perhaps where I'd like us to pick up again, this plan is set to pave South Africa's road towards net zero emissions by the year 2050. Could you explain to us what role wind power plays in meeting the country's decarbonisation and net zero goals?
So wind power obviously provides a renewable energy form of power, which means that it forms part of the decarbonisation plan. So it's not using dirty fuels, it's renewable energy. And there's a large amount of that that's already been put onto the grid and connected and is producing electricity, which is being sold both to Eskom and also to the private power market. And there's still plenty more gigawatts and plenty more wind projects that still need to be connected to the grid and reach financial close and construct and then essentially put electrons back into the grid.
Now, the IRP is set to provide for a drastic increase in renewable energy. And with the contribution of coal being reduced from the current 58% to 27% by the year 2039, how much of that will actually be coming from wind energy?
So it'll be split between wind and solar PV. And I think what's important is, the plan is a framework. It's a guideline for, what the renewable, what the energy strategy should be. So there'll be a mix between wind and solar PV, but there's a huge amount of this renewables being deployed. And it sort of does show kind of that, the role of renewable energies in South Africa and how it can contribute to the just energy transition.
Does the revised integrated resource plan perhaps provide enough certainty to attract long-term private investment in wind energy specifically?
So, I mean, first of all, I think the full IRP has not been released yet. So, the assumptions around it are not yet clear. We haven't seen that yet. It's just sort of the highlights behind it. But what we have seen is that regardless of that, there's been huge investment into wind energy, both in terms of the renewable energy IPP government programs, but also in the private power space where there's been huge demand for wind and there's definitely investment in that space.
Talk to us about the reintroduction, perhaps now more under the spotlight of nuclear energy as part of the energy mix.
So absolutely, we're seeing that come into the RFI as a form of energy that's coming in. And I think what's important to note is that this energy mix is to ensure sort of sustainability, and there's a role for all energy sources, and really it's to achieve energy security.
All right, Vincentia. We'll have to leave it at that once again, towards the end. It must have something to do with nuclear, because I tell you, it was exactly at this point yesterday when we were talking about nuclear that the lines just did what they're doing to us once again. But Vincentia Letish, we thank you very much, ma'am, for your time. We did manage to get a good part of that conversation in. Vincentia is Executive for Energy and Infrastructure at Standard Bank. She takes us to exactly 4:32 Central African time as we head over now to the markets desk, where Matapelo Mahapi is standing by with your latest market indicators.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet, Channel 628. Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Thami. I look at your indicators this hour. One US dollar is trading at 17 Rand 70 cents in South Africa. In Botswana, it's trading at 13 Pula 28. In Namibia, it is trading at 17 Namibian dollars 70. The Zambian kwacha is trading at 23 kwacha 21 to the US dollar. In Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 48. In Ethiopia, it is trading at 150 bir 3. In Uganda, it is trading at 3,000 shilling 454. In Tanzania, it is trading at 2,000 shilling 455. One US dollar is trading at 1,000 naira in Nigeria. Rather, one US dollar in Nigeria, it is trading at 1,000 naira 465. In Egypt, the dollar is trading at 47 Egyptian pound 50. In Tunisia, it is trading at 2 dinar 92. In Algeria, it is trading at 129 dinar 39. In Morocco, the dollar is trading at 9 dirham 18. In Angola, the dollar is trading at 911 kwanza 35, while the Congolese franc is trading at 2,144 to the US dollar. I look at your commodities. The gold is trading at $4,074 and platinum at $1,558 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $62.49 a barrel. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business News, I am Matapela Mahapi.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And for the latest from the business of sport, here is Figile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Thami. We begin with football news. The Morocco National Football Federation, the FA, has pocketed a huge amount of money for winning the FIFA Under-20 World Cup. The amount consistently reported for the National Football Federation, the FA, of the country that has won the Under-20 World Cup is approximately $1 million. Lesser, but still substantial. Amounts are reported for other top finishers, such as $300,000 for the third-place team. FIFA says it is crucial to understand that this prize money is paid to the National Football Federation and does not go directly to the players. The actual bonus money that individual players receive is an additional incentive determined entirely by the winning country's own FA, making the final compensation highly variable. And South African Football Association SAFA Commercial and Marketing Manager Errol Madlala has outlined the main considerations that influence the Federation's decision to secure Adidas as their new technical sponsor. SAFA received 10 proposals from global sports apparel companies before shortlisting those invited to make final presentation. After 5 years with Le Coq Sportif, the current partnership concludes at the end of this year, with Adidas officially taking over from the 1st of January 2026. The new kit is expected to be unveiled on the 24th of March 2026. Madlala says product quality and quantity were central to the decision.
As a National Football Association, the national team is emotionally owned by the people. So it was also then important that we not finding just a SAFA partner, but someone who's going to clothe the nation. So I think it was quite important then we had clarity around key things for us. Was the quality of product to give players the best possible solution globally around their kit so that they can feel proud. It has the right innovation to manage all weathers, all playing conditions, so that's out the window. Secondary to that is the amount or the quantity of the product.
Madlala, who previously served as head of sponsorships at the Castle Lager and commercial director at Cricket South Africa, emphasized that distribution and promotion were key to ensuring supporters can access and wear official gear with pride.
Ability for fans to find the product. So retail distribution was quite important. So can you be found in at least 90% of retail, both rural and urban, importantly. So I think we wanted to ensure that we touch on that. The fourth point was around the ability to promote the products that you have in the marketplace. Not just the association with the team, but a balance of the two, to be able to ensure that there's excitement around our product in the market. And fans would want to grab the association with the team through product, whether it's your top end at a high price or at a low end where people can afford it.
Madlala revealed that the bonus structure for both SAFA and the national teams was another important component of the new deal.
Last but not least is also the remuneration structures, fees, bonuses, and targets. So that because remember that these kind of deals are also licensing deals, whereby is that the more they sell, the more everyone makes. And SAFA has an opportunity to then sell through quite a lot of product, particularly that we're coming to the World Cup. It's going to be quite important for us to ensure that we find a partner that can maximize the opportunity, because if you're available across the world during the World Cup, the opportunities then for us, it allows South Africans across the world and allows neutrals who will find affinity with our brand of football that I would also love to have this Bafana Bafana.
Let's end with golf. Every week, the Sunshine Tour showcases the men who grew up dreaming of greatness and who live out those dreams on the fairways. Now, at every prize giving on the Sunshine Tour, the winning golfer's caddy is also welcomed forward and awarded a medallion. Sunshine Tour caddies do not receive prize money directly. Instead, they earn a percentage of their players' winnings, which is typically 5% for finishes outside the top 10, 7 to 10% for a top 10, and 10% for a win. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African Perspective. From markets to innovation. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni covers it all. With Africa's future in focus, Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
It is exactly 4:39 Central African Time. Now, if you are one who plays the lottery and you've been playing in South Africa's lottery, this is a conversation that you certainly don't want to miss. Now, the operator of South Africa's national lottery is called Ituba, and they say winning a multi-million rand lottery jackpot is indeed a life-changing moment. They're not the only ones who say that. I think we all certainly know that. And it does bring with it, however, a wave of excitement, a lot of joy, but there's also often a deep sense of a responsibility that comes with winning huge windfalls of money, and that the transition into a new financial reality can be quite intimidating and daunting for many. It's also very emotional, and it's a weight of a large financial windfall can often be overwhelming for many. This does lead to feelings of anxiety, disbelief, isolation. Ituba says you don't have to go through these transitions on your own. Winners can make use of their free support services, such as guidance on financial, legal, as well as psychological matters to help them manage their sudden wealth. To help us unpack this further, we joined on the line by Michelle van Trottersberg, Ituba's Head of Corporate Services and Marketing. Good to have you with us, Michelle. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
So, Michelle, I mean, we're having this conversation really at the back of a winner who has won large sums of money in the lottery, but those funds remain unclaimed as we speak.
You're talking about the jackpot winner from last night?
Yes, the jackpot winner.
Yes, so we've had two jackpot winners last night. They're both banking winners, so they bought their tickets on the banking apps, which means that they would have been notified this morning already by their banking partners, and they are obviously encouraged to come through to our offices. So I can't confirm or deny at this stage whether they have come forward to our offices. We are still looking forward to receiving them.
There's one winner. This is a while back, though. It's in the month of August. And I just want to catch up and find out if maybe this person has claimed their money. This was in the month of August. And this particular individual won about $6.7 million, which is around 124 million rand, from a ticket that was drawn on the 5th of August. Do you know if that person has actually claimed their windfall?
There's no outstanding amounts that are to that value that I can confirm that has not been claimed. All of our tickets that we currently have available have been claimed. So the only ticket that we are currently advertising that is unclaimed is on Powerball Plus, which is going to be expiring in November, and it's over 2 million rands. But I can confirm that we don't have anybody that has not come forward to claim any prize of 124 million rand.
So it does expire. So you've really got to claim your money. What if somebody's traveling or they're out of town and they only find out later that they actually won?
We have a 365 days period that people can come through to our offices to claim their winnings. If you look at it compared to some other lotteries around the world, they have only 180 days. In some of the countries, they only have 7 days. So in South Africa, we do give people an extended amount of time. So if they have 365 days to claim, and unfortunately, if they do not claim within that period, the money does go into the National Lottery Distribution Trust Fund, which is then distributed towards good causes.
One of the areas that you are quite particular about is ensuring that when a person does win, whether it is copious amounts of money or maybe negligent, that you do provide them with legal assistance, you do provide them with financial advice as well as psychological support. Could you take us through the type of mechanisms that you have in place to monitor and perhaps even follow up with the winner over a period of time to ensure that they do actually get the necessary education and support in how to handle this newfound life?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a very good point that you're making. And, we don't just focus on the big winners. Anybody that wins a value of over 50,000 Rand qualifies for our free services. So we give all of our winners over 50,000 Rand free trauma counseling, and that trauma counseling is not bad trauma, it's good trauma counseling to be able to give you that support to be able to manage that kind of windfall, as well as financial advice. So we bring in a accredited financial advisor, which is an external party, and they come through and they give them advice. So whether you win 50,000 or 163 million Rand, like I won it from last night's Powerball, we are giving them that service. Just to add on to what you were asking, the we obviously support them through their entire journey. We have got a dedicated winner services team that at their disposal that they can contact at any time for any assistance. But we do find that most of the winners, after a period of time, they do become uncontactable. They change their numbers, they move for obvious reasons. So we don't follow through and phone them again to make sure that they're okay, but we are available for them to be around if they need any further assistance from Ituba.
Now, what are the possible challenges that a winner might go through? What are the case studies that you've seen?
Look, there hasn't been that many case studies, to be honest. You know, as I said, we give them the financial and the trauma counseling, which gives them that springboard and the good foundation in order to be able to make sure that they make good financial decisions in a responsible manner. And thereafter, I mean, when you see those kind of zeros going into your bank accounts, you know, you have to be responsible. We've also had a lot of winners that have come through and said, yes, they'll definitely donate to charity. So at the time, you know, it's a very exhilarating process. It's very daunting. It's very exciting. And, you know, once it settles down, then of course, you know, they will have to manage those kind of experiences themselves. And we've all heard of programs where people have blown it. I mean, that is a reality, but with the services that Ituba has been providing, we believe that it is the best way to support these kind of participants and winners to make sure that they are going to be able to have that money and invest that money in a responsible manner and enjoy that money and have that life-changing experience. That is why they bought a ticket. They need to experience it to the full potential.
Now, what about the rise in gambling addiction? How do you deal with that, and how do you educate winners and even the general public?
Mm-hmm. So the National Lottery is very different from gambling. And if you look at the cost of a ticket, I mean, the winner last night, they won 163 million rand with a wager of 30 rand. So it's not going to break the bank. That is not considered excessive gaming or gambling. We don't consider ourselves as gambling. We've got very, very stringent limitations in all of our processes. You can only buy a certain amount of tickets per day. So it's not where you're sitting gambling the whole day on a slot machine. The National Lottery is more of a flutter. You know, you take a chance, you buy a ticket. The cost of your ticket is 5 rand, or some of our games is only 3 rand. So it's not qualified completely as gambling. Yes, we acknowledge gambling is on the rise, and that is just a signal of a very limited amount of people that are obviously enjoying it from a different point of view. So we do a lot of responsible gaming education. We are accredited by the World Lottery Association, and we are happily certified as a level 2 responsible gaming certification, which is recognized by the World Lottery Association. So responsible gaming, managing excessive play. Our focus is mainly on underage play, so making sure that we don't have any people under the age of 18 playing on the National Lottery games.
And as I let you go, how do you help people deal with issues of being exploited once they do claim their prize, as far as winners are concerned?
Again, it's a difficult one after they've received their money. So we have our winners come through to our offices. We go through the process. We give them the financial and trauma counseling assistance. The money is then deposited via EFT into their bank account within a 72-hour period. And thereafter, you know, the money is in their accounts, and we don't give them the support unless they reach out for it. So we are not able to give you any further updates on that kind of, support. If they want the support, they will reach out. However, you know, we've given them the tools to be able to manage it.
One last question. As far as the National Lottery is concerned and Ituba, if someone is living outside of South Africa, can they actually play the South African National Lottery?
The National Lottery is geo-targeted for South Africa. So in order to claim, you will need a registered South African ID document or passports. You can play outside of the country if you are a South African citizen. But if you are from another country, no, you will not be able to claim.
Michelle van Trottenberg, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And I mean, you're talking about the trauma of winning. I don't know if that's if there is such thing. I mean, can you call excessive joy trauma?
Absolutely. It is extremely exhilarating.
Thank you, Michelle. That's Michelle from Trossensburg, Ituba, Head of Corporate Services and Marketing. I tell you what, I wouldn't mind experiencing that kind of trauma just to know how it feels like and just how traumatic it would be to win millions and millions of rands or dollars. It is exactly 4:50 Central African time. This is Africa in Business. In just a moment, a look at global and local markets with ABSA.
Let the good times roll. From the 10th of October, make a note. Channel Africa is stepping into a brand new era with the launch of our upgraded website and app. It's easy, fresh, and always on your fingertips. Wherever you are in the world, Africa's voice is just a click away. The future of Channel Africa goes live from the 10th of October. Don't miss the moments. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
Now, let's take a look at the latest business and financial market developments. And for this conversation, we're joined by Lindile Malchas, investment strategist at ABSA Investments. A very good afternoon, Lindile.
Good afternoon, Thami, and good afternoon to the listeners as well.
So let's go straight into it with an overview of the latest performances in both global and local markets.
So in terms of market performance, we are seeing a bit of mixed bags here. So Asian markets were a bit mixed. Then if you head over to Europe, those European stocks are down, both looking at the Stocks 50 and the UK FTSE 100. And then looking at the US markets, we are seeing that the US markets have opened slightly flat so far. Then bringing it back to our local markets, the all share is slightly rebounding from the losses we saw yesterday. However, it's up by 0.1%. We are seeing that this is being driven by financials and industrials, whilst you are seeing resources falling for a second consecutive day. And then looking at the rand, it is slightly weaker today at around 17 rand 40 to the dollar. And that is on the back of a stronger dollar as well. And then also looking at commodities such as gold, seeing a bit of profit taking there, and that also being exacerbated by the stronger dollar as well. So it's trading somewhere close to the 4,000 per ounce level as well.
Let's look at some results now. We see the Foschini Group, they released their trading update and trading statement for the first half of the year, or the first half ended 30th of September 2025. Now, they reported an increase in group sales by about 12% and expecting EPS earnings to decline. Could you highlight for us some of the key takeaways from those results, as well as what it is that led to that performance?
Yes, so in terms of TFG and the retailers overall, they have been struggling since the start of the year, and certainly seeing that in these results as well. Albeit you're seeing sales growing, we are seeing that the company has guided for earnings per share to decline, and this is on the back of the company posting lower margins. They still expect the environment and consumer confidence to remain quite depressed as well. So that does affect sales, and they're expecting this across all of the major regions that they're operating in. So looking at the Africa region, looking at London and Australia, all of those regions are currently having some difficult operating conditions. I think what the markets didn't like, because what they did react negatively to this update with the share price, it fell about 16% yesterday. What markets didn't like is in a period where some of the competitors were gaining a bit of market share, we didn't see as much market share gains looking at TFG as well. And then we are seeing higher financing costs, and that is due to the company acquiring a company in the UK called White Stuff. So we are seeing that sort of leading to an increase in finance cost. And then if you're looking at some of the results, excluding that acquisition in the UK, you are seeing that sales are more or less flat. So markets not really convinced by the growth if you exclude some of those acquisitions as well. So as I mentioned, markets were reacting negatively to that, and year to date, in line with peers, it has been under a bit of pressure from a share price perspective.
And what other economic releases are the markets expecting this week?
Yes, so I think there was quite a few. Just to touch on what we saw today, perhaps, we did see locally the inflation figure coming out from the Stats SA. It came in at around 3.4%, so increasing slightly from the 3.3% that we saw in August. However, still coming in below what markets had anticipated. Markets were expecting the figure to come around 3.5%. And then looking at core inflation as well, that coming in at 3.2%, so more or less in line with what markets had expected. And then some of the key things that we'll be looking at this week is following the delay of the publishing of the US inflation figures. We are expecting that on Friday. Markets are expecting that to come in higher at around 3.1%. And if we see that coming in higher than what markets had anticipated, there will be less expectation for the US Fed to cut rates as well. And then looking at some of the other things that we are expecting, we'll continue to monitor the US earnings season as more and more companies release as well.
Lindile Malchas, thank you so much for today's update.
Thanks, Thami.
All right, we'll see you again same time next week. That's Lindile Malchas, investment strategist at APSA Investment.
Thanks,
have a great one. Thanks, Lindile. He takes us to exactly 4:56.
Africa in Business. Africa in Business delivers key insights and real-time updates on Africa's growing markets with Thami Ngubeni. The African Perspective on Channel Africa.
Channel Africa. So some of the key stories that we looked at today, apart from the global and local markets that Lydia Malchas has just taken us through now, we did focus on the role that wind energy plays in the integrated resource plan and in South Africa's energy mix. We spoke to Vincentia Letish, who's executive for energy and infrastructure at Standard Bank, as well as the increasing role of both solar and wind. Also, a change of relationships between the World Bank and Uganda. You'll remember that around 2 years ago, the World Bank refused and put a freeze and a hold on lending any money to Uganda. And this was because of Uganda's anti-LGBTQ laws. This has now, taken a different turn, a different stride, with the World Bank going to lend Uganda $2 billion. And all of this financing is supposed to go through into infrastructure development, various sectors such as energy, agriculture, and ICT. A conversation with Godber Tumishabe, who is Associate Director at the Great Lakes Institute for Strategic Studies, which is a Kampala-based policy think tank, not very optimistic that these funds will indeed go to where they are intended to go, because this is not the first time that funds have been funneled through into these various areas, and he's citing a lack of political will, really, in order to get this done. So we'll continue watching that story really closely. Good afternoon to you, mademoiselle, or should I say madame?
Madame,
bonjour,
bonjour, Thami, bonjour à tous les éditeurs de Channel Africa. Tout à l'heure, sur Vue d'Afrique, il sera question du Cameroun, guerre des communiqués dans l'attente des résultats officiels de la présidentielle du 12 octobre. Et nous parlerons aussi de la présidentielle en Côte d'Ivoire. En tout cas, la tension reste perceptible dans le pays, où 32 manifestants opposés au 4e mandat du président sortant écopent de 3 ans de prison ferme. C'est tout à l'heure sur Vue d'Afrique. Merci, Thami.
Merci beaucoup. That's Vue d'Afrique coming up in just a moment. Well, that's how we come to the end of Africa in Business for this afternoon. From myself, Thami Ngubeni, and our entire editorial and production team, you have yourself a splendid evening further, and restez connectés.